I'm not 100% sure, but this could be a 2-video day. You know, it's the weekend, Memorial Day stuff. And I do have some older stuff I sent myself, like do a video on, but we'll just see. We're either going to get 2 or 3 today. But this is interesting. Talk about draining the swamp. His son-in-law, the Israeli Israeli everything, Jared Kushner. What is this that I'm hearing about? Or is this fake news? I wouldn't think that, the legacy media would come out and say this if this was fake, because this is against what they need to show you. But Zero has an article here. Kushner role in White House suddenly unclear, may return to private life. That would be one of the greatest things that Trump could ever do. Because you remember when wasn't it Bannon, the guy from Breitbart, a real good guy, and Trump's like, all right, let me get him out of the national security room here now, kind of to give him a couple notches down on the totem pole. And then all of a sudden, Kushner and him are fighting constantly, this guy. And again, it's like Kushner's for the elite, Bannon or whatever, he's a good guy. And Trump told Bannon basically to scoot off for a little bit. Now all of a sudden, Kushner may return to private life. Man, this could be fantastic news. In the first segment of Friday night's Trump bombshell report, published almost at the same time by Reuters and the Wall Street Journal, anonymous sources reported that Trump is preparing a war room upon his Saturday return from Europe to combat negative reports and mounting questions about communication between Russia. We did point out some discrepancies. On one hand, Reuters said that Steve Bannon and Jared Kushner, who subsequently Washington Post reported were trying to set up back channels with Russians in the second Friday night-long weekend bombshell, were coordinating the war room in the White House's new messaging effort, which also aims to push Trump's policy agenda and schedule more rallies with supporters. On the other hand, contradicting Reuters, Wall Street Journal reported that neither Bannon nor Kushner were safe in the upcoming White House spring cleaning overhaul. Now, one day later, and with the latest Kushner story published, the Washington Post has also chimed in on the alleged war room story with some additional details. While the gist of the story is the same and is a recap of what is already known, including the White House plans for more aggressively to far more aggressively combat the cascading revelations about contact between Trump associates, including Jared Kushner. White House officials are also trying to find ways to revive Trump's stalled policy agenda in Congress and the way the White House communicates with the public. Beefed up operation could include the return of some of Trump's more combative campaign aides, including former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski, who was fired nearly a year ago, and former deputy campaign manager David N. Bossie, who made his name in politics by investigating Bill and Hillary Clinton for 2 decades. A diminished role for embattled White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, yada, 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 whatever. What is new is the following detail on the potential future role of Jared Kushner, or lack thereof, who has emerged as the alleged focal point of the FBI's probe into the White House. Here is what the Washington Post reported Saturday. Some White House aides have discreetly discussed among one another whether Kushner should play a lesser role or even take a leave. Now, I think the word take a hike would be more appropriate, at least until the Russia-related issues calm, but they have been reluctant to discuss that view with Kushner himself, and Kushner's network of allies within the West Wing has rallied behind him. Those close to Kushner said he has no plans to take a reduced role, though people who have spoken to him say that he is increasingly weary of the nonstop frenzy. In recent weeks, the White House also brought on Josh Raphael, as a spokesman to handle many of the issues in Kushner's sweeping portfolio. Raphael works out of a shared office in the West Wing, although he also has space in the Eisenhower office building. As for Priebus, he may be going to Greece. No kidding. broke austerity to death Greece. He's heading over there. I wonder what he's doing there. Underscoring the uncertainty of what lies ahead, some Trump associates said there have been conversations about dispatching Priebus to serve as ambassador to Greece. His mother is of Greek descent, as a face-saving way to remove him from the White House. A White House spokeswoman strongly denied the possibility Saturday. Well, that would be a good thing. Get rid of him. Priebus, remember? Head of the RNC. Get rid of him. Still, as with most such pieces, the admission roughly halfway through the report is that the underlying premise is merely speculation, except perhaps for Sean Spicer. Though no final decisions have been made, one option being discussed is having Spicer, who has been paranoid on NBC Saturday Night Live to devastating effect, take a more behind-the-scenes role and give up his daily on-camera briefings. On Trump's foreign tour, Spicer conducted only one briefing, an informal gaggle with the small traveling press pool. Otherwise, he served more as an MC, introducing other senior administration officials at more formal briefings. On Saturday, it was Goldman Sachs' Gary Cohn, the National Economic Council Director, and Mick Master, who headlined the U.S. News Conference at the conclusion of the Group of Seven summit in Italy. Spicer introduced them and then retired to the corner of the room, to which McMaster and Cohn parried questions from journalists. Another new detail, Trump's inspiration for a war room comes from Bill Clinton. Conversations about what some are calling a war room have focused on a model similar to what emerged during President Bill Clinton's tenure to cope with the Monica Lewinsky scandal and other crises. Clinton pulled together a team of lawyers and communication and political aides to deal with those issues apart from the regular White House structure, with the aim of letting other businesses proceed as normally as possible. Even so, Trump aides say that they have come to the realization that unflattering stories about Russia will be part of the daily conversation for the foreseeable future, and acknowledge that the White House has been ill-equipped to handle them. Well, of course they have. Every allegation about it regarding Russian anything is nonsense. They're absolutely ill-equipped to handle it. They never will be when you just throw things out of left field continually that are lies. And it keeps it poking on the whole Russian thing. It's nonsense. The above, which may explain the deployment of a third aircraft carrier toward North Korea. As a reminder, the Russia stories came to a screeching halt the day after Trump launched a ballistic missile attack on Syria. Were those actually ballistic missiles? Not that it mattered, they hit nonsense targets. Only to return with a vengeance after Trump fired FBI Director Comey as a new tide of sources emerged. And speaking of sources, one of the handful of people actually quoted on the record in today's extensive Washington Post piece said something that few can disagree with. He was given the chance to look presidential and change the pictures on our television screens, said Timothy Naftali, a presidential historian at New York University, but it will be harder for him to manage news back at home than abroad. The worries he had when he left have not gone away. They're only getting worse. Indeed, which is why, going back to Jared Kushner, the New York Times separately reported on Saturday that Kushner has told friends that he and his wife have made no long-term commitment to remain by Mr. Trump's side, saying they would review every 6 months whether to return to the private life in New York or not. Yet, like the Washington Post, New York Times quotes sources close to the president's son-in-law as saying that Kushner has no plans to step down from his role as a senior White House advisor. In fact, CNN indicated Kushner was not going anywhere. He would continue to focus on his work and is eager to cooperate with inquiries, according to reporter Jim Acosta. While Kushner's fate remains unclear, a parallel question is if Trump's son-in-law decides, or is forced to depart the White House to take away the heat from Trump, whether Steve Bannon, who was largely sidelined as a result of the growing influence of the Kushner-Goldman wing, will make a big return as Trump's core advisor. With Trump back in the country after a one-week hiatus, we expect many of the questions to be resolved shortly. My spider senses are telling me that sounds plausible. Priebus, go to Greece, you bum. Kushner, I know you're my son-in-law, but listen, I'm running the show, not you and not Israel. I kicked Bannon down a little bit just to stop the nonsense press from having, a hyena fest, and made it look like I was taking you on as my main advisor when, as you know, I'm not listening to anything you say anymore. I need you to come out with a press release that you're just going to go ahead and head back to private life. Kind of like when Rahm Emanuel left Obama almost immediately after Obama took office the first time and decided, I'm going to go run for mayor of Chicago, the slums of Chicago. I want to go over there and, go back to private life, so to speak. But even private life for Rahm Emanuel isn't exactly private. He went to become mayor, but nonetheless, out of the administration. That would be a fantastic move. I would love to see nothing but that happen right now, because it would show me, at least me, I don't know about you guys, unequivocally that Donald Trump is playing these people like we hoped and kind of suspected, right? We were kind of on the fence. Oh, is he doing this because he's such a smart guy and he's playing everybody because he's going to make the right decision later? If that was the case, why doesn't he do that now, right? When we were trying to figure all this out, what was he doing? He did that thing. That's a fantastic thing. He did that. That's great. Oh, he hired Goldman and another Goldman. I don't know about that. But then all of a sudden, even though Steve Bannon was kind of sidelined, he stayed with him. And again, he may have pulled him aside and said, look, Steve, can I call you Steve? Absolutely, Mr. President. You can call me Steve. Listen, Steve, I got to let this crap die down. The media, you see these, they're like a bunch of hyenas. I'm gonna demote you. It'll shut these people up. They'll think that they're winning. And I'll deal with my son-in-law here shortly. Just hang out. I'm going to pull you back in. You're going to be my number one advisor. Oh, okay, Mr. President. Fantastic. So I'll just... And where's Steve? You haven't heard anything about Steve Bannon anymore, have you? Ever since he sidelined him over there. Benched him. Sit on the bench for a little bit. Not a peep. But wouldn't you be upset if it was really you just got kicked to the curb? Oh, well, the hell with this. I'm leaving he doesn't have faith in me. I'm leaving the administration. I came here to help you. You kicked me down. I'm leaving, right? But he didn't. He stayed. Again, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. And just to see, just so I can come out here and tell you, guys, trust for O.J. Simpson, here's what's going down. You think Lindsey Williams used to have an elite friend? Listen, I've got something for you. Boy, would I like to do that. Boy, would I like to say that, but that's not the case. So again, I got to play armchair quarterback and look at all these puzzle pieces to figure out, well, is this true? Is that not true? All it came from the legacy media, so it's probably fake. You know what I mean? But the fact that Steve Bannon stayed around, now all of a sudden this is coming out. Get rid of Priebus. Cha-ching, check mark on that. The awesome side of your list versus the crap side of your list. The Goldman Sachs side is on the crap side, in case you're wondering. Put on the check in the good box. Oh, got rid of Kushner. Boop, another check. That would be fantastic. So, again, we'll wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see. Take care.